Seun Onigbinde, the CEO at Budget, is here with us in the studios to talk about public sector finance. But very quickly, of course, Nigeria is always looking for one piece of money or the other, from $20 billion said to be unremitted from the NNPC to figures such as 30 trillion naira, and you just keep looking for money. And it was all about public sector finance. How much of the public sector finance do you know as a Nigerian citizen, and how much should you know? But the key question is understanding the process. Are public sector finance in Nigeria really public? Seun, good morning. Thanks for coming. Good morning, a very interesting question, isn't it?
Yeah, great.
About,
public and public.
Yeah, public. How much of public sector finance is actually public in Nigeria? And does that account for these perennial looking for one missing money, unremitted money, undisclosed amount, taxes not paid? Isn't public sector finance ought to be public?
Yeah, you're very right. One thing you understand is that we're still suffering from the fatigue of the military era, where people think public sector funds or public sector accounting should be kept in secret. And then it's dangerous because those are the things that destroy informed public opinion. To ask questions, tough questions.
Distrust public trust.
Yeah,
trust.
Yeah. Trust in most
trust in public officials.
Yeah, because you don't know how the money is being spent. How do you raise questions? If it's a public finance, you need to start from the budgeting to the planning stage, down to the procurement stage, down to when the cash is released, and down to where you have the audit or the implementation report in between. Now, along this entire chain, not all the information are public. The federal government has even done a bit better in this regard, because you can get the annual budget in detail up to the expense level, where you know the project according to every zone. Then you can get the budget implementation report, though it comes very, very late. As of today, we don't have the 2014 full implementation report of the budget online. It's not public. And this is already in July, 7 months into the next year. So the challenge, even the audited report since 1999 has not been made public, because the National Assembly does not approve it, as even when the Auditor General submits it to the Public Accounts Committee. So along the chain, there are places where you have loopholes, and that's why sometimes the figures don't match.
So who should we be asking questions? The guys at the Public Sector Finance Accounts Committee?
No,
both at the Senate and the lower house?
Yeah, we need a cabinet minister. This will require strong leadership. And Okonjo said something which was really brilliant, which was what you call a Treasury Single Account, the TSA, where everybody, including the CBN, which gets the money, the Accountant General, everybody logs onto a single portal, so that sometimes we don't have this mismatch of figures where NNPC record differs from DPR, and DPR records differ from NAPIMS, and it differs from CBN figures, and we keep having those challenges. So where everybody's based on a single portal, it's through a single window, the data is singular. But the question is that didn't have that didn't have full implementation till left.
That was something Ngozi was trying to put in place just before the elections and politicking started, so that didn't pull through. The central bank has something close to that. It's called the EFAS, which is Electronic Financial Accounting System, in which all banks, the central bank can sit down in its office and they can see all the banks' vaults, deposits, what you have, and there's no hiding place. Now, what makes it difficult for us to have a single portal that you can see NNPC, you can see the Securities and Exchange Commission, or you can see the customs, you can see the FRS, you can see FAN, you can see NIMASA, and everybody else, the Nigeria Port Authority.
Yeah, that's where the problem is. And you've seen that because of the record where we have been running with, most of these agencies, which is also enabled by the Fiscal Responsibility Act, you are supposed to raise money or make revenue, spend, then remit the operating surplus. Now, the only thing the federal government gets at the end of the year is the operating surplus. And this, again, we should disabuse, because it has led to abuse where people raise much, spend much, and remit too little. Now, if
where's the gap here? Hold on a second. Take us through this. We're trying to understand the process. If you're a revenue agency, you generated A, then you spend B, then you remit C.
Yeah.
Where is the gap in public sector finance? Sometimes we get to say, oh, we generated ABC. For example, let's take the customs, for example. In the month of January, we generated 100 billion naira. Now, we don't get a figure as to how much was spent. Then we don't get how much was remitted to the Federation account unless perhaps some journalists or whoever picks it up somewhere and becomes a controversy.
Yeah, that's the problem. So, and that's why I agree with what the current president is saying, even though the implementation is more clearer, that all government revenue should come to the consolidated revenue account. Now you can come at that point to also explain how do you want to spend this money. Also because the budgets for these agencies are also secret. For example, a clear case in this is fine.
Aren't their budget at the beginning of the year, so why should their budget be secret?
Yeah, the budget gets plus the National Assembly. You know, it's not also captured with the regular budget of the federal government. The revenue agency budgets are different. What is only captured at the end of the day is the operating surplus they remit. So in the process, some of them, the expenditures are too high. And they also is also almost at the same level with the recurrent. So they remit too little. We have over 400 revenue generating agencies in this country. And they pull at least, they just pull at less than 300 billion naira in a year. 70% of that money comes through the CBN. So what are the rest guys doing? What does the NIMASA do? What does the Nigerian Port Authority do? What does SEC do? And what does even people like, we don't even care about like JAMB, WAEC, NECO. Where are those revenues coming? So the question is, we need to restructure the revenue space. It's prone to abuse, all because people have this chance to spend as they like. Because they take these budgets to the National Assembly for approval. But we understand how these things work. The scrutiny is weak, and at the end of the day...
At the National Assembly.
The National Assembly.
Is it because the National Assembly folks themselves have their own, well, quote-unquote, skeleton in their cupboards because you don't even have public finance reveal what the National Assembly's budget traditionally is?
Yeah, everybody knows it's 120 billion. It was just cut back by 30 billion last year. But the question is, what does National Assembly spend 120 billion naira for? We have been on this campaign on social media to get the National Assembly to open its budget. The current Senate President, Senator Bukola Saraki, has set up a committee to open up the finances of National Assembly to report back to the plenary in the next 2 weeks. So we're expecting, what would they say? They're supposed to have a committee hearing. We've not seen that happen. But the question is, if the National Assembly itself is not transparent, it does not have moral authority, even to ask most of these agencies to open up their budget. And until we get this fundamental, this platform right, which is transparency, we can't even get to fight corruption or do anything. As long as people can hide government books, then you'll still be prone to abuse. When it's more open, when it's more clearer, we begin to understand, are these things really, really necessary?
So this process of allowing you to generate, to spend and remit XYZ, perhaps Z, is where the issues of whether you buy private jets or you buy bulletproof cars, taking some bank loans, padding it with your revenue from the parastatals. That's where those things come in.
That's where it comes in, because you, at the end of the day, the minister might not find money to buy 2 brand new bulletproof BMW in his budget. That would be difficult. But he has an agency supervising under, and which the budget is not clear. So you can go and meet the head of the agency and say, can you get me to BMW bulletproof? And he does it. Because he can't
and takes it out of revenue directly that the agency parastatal generates.
Generated, and which means they are shortened the revenue that's supposed to come into the federal account. So the consolidated revenue account for the federal government as it could be. So that's even with the LNPC, LNG has remitted dividends for some few years, in the last few years.
The gas company.
Yeah, but they're spending money at source through subsidies, through different deductions. So the right to spend at source has to be challenged as we go forward.
In summary, it looks like the Federal Republic of Nigeria does not have a tidy bookkeeping and account system.
Yeah, it's in a mess, and that's why we need to work around the treasury. It's a great idea for buying Ngozi, the treasury single account. We need to get that right. We need to get things like IPSAS also conform with the new